Hi, everyone, and thank you for tuning in again live. Today it is Monday, January 13th. It is noon, and you are currently watching the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group here live on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. If this is working for you, please drop a chat in the comment area and let me know that I'm not just talking to dead air. And please tag a friend who loves tattoos. Anyone that you think might be interested in this show. We're always trying to get more people involved. So please, whether it's someone that is trying to become a tattoo artist, or maybe it's someone that is a tattoo artist that doesn't, maybe they feel like they hit like a little plateau, tag everyone you know. We're always trying to get more people involved. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing shows, both live and on demand, that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. And you can try it out for free. There's no obligation to subscribe. We do offer three different options for you to try it out. The first option is to take a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon, where you get to go through and get a behind the scenes look at what it's like to have a full subscription to the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon. Our second option is to get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about goals and goal setting. It's absolutely awesome. You interact directly with Guy, and he goes through, takes a look at your work, and gets back to you with some goals you might want to set for yourself. The third option is to take a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, being a tattoo history nerd myself, I highly recommend the tattoo history course. It's absolutely fantastic. You cannot go wrong. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find access to a full event schedule with full live and special event live stream details. So if you wanted to jump into this show, or if we have a special show going on one day, feel free to go to reinventingthetattoo.com to the events area, and you'll see a link to join that show live right there from the website. While there, you also have access to our Reinventing 24/7 channel, which has about 13 different shows going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available on all web-enabled devices, whether it's a smartphone, a tablet, smart TV, anything of that nature. If it can connect to the web, there's a really good chance you can stream it straight through the website. While there, we also offer a whole bunch of different professional development courses and on-demand seminars from over 20 world-class tattoo artists. Artists like Bob Tyrell, BJ Betts, Andre Malcolm, and a whole lot more. They all have live, paid-for seminars available for purchase at reinventingthetattoo.com. You can also find us on the App Store, both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which is a lot like our Reinventing 24/7 channel. It's got 12 to 15 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available on all Roku-enabled devices. And you can also find us in all of the major podcast directories as well, such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can do what most people do and just open up your web browser and do a quick browser search for Reinventing the Tattoo, and you will find it all. Except for the book, which is still currently out of print. I think I saw one on eBay the other week for about $1,200, which sounds about right. Um, but hey, that's, kind of the way that things go. If this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chats, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. We have a couple of weekly staple shows we always encourage people to tune into. Starting off on Mondays at 9 a.m., we have Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we get to go through and discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies. Helps us get back to our roots of being a fine artist in today's tattoo age. Really helps us hammer out some of our unique drawing abilities and compositional elements that we incorporate into a lot of our tattoos. And that is 9 a.m. Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom. Following that, you have this show, which is the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group. where we get to go through and really work on building up some of our skills that we've acquired over the years, maybe even learn a few new ones, such as Procreate tips and tricks, composition, color theory, and a whole bunch of different skills that you never know might come in handy. Following this show and capping off Mondays at 9 p.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew, where we get to go through and do a deeper dive into some of the drawing chapters within the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, where we cover different aspects of it. Really helps us go through and really pushes us to become better artists, whether it's working on your speed and how quickly you can sketch and draw some things, or whether it's working on refining elements or compositional elements, all of that and a whole lot more. That's all covered during the subscribers exclusive drawing group, which you do need a subscription for. But I can tell you from firsthand experience, it is worth every penny you can spend on it. I did the Monday evening drawing courses for about 2 years. And if you look at what I was doing and the work that I was putting out before I started, the work that I'm doing now, you will notice a vast difference in not only the quality, but the type of tattooing that I am currently doing. So I can speak firsthand about that. Wednesdays at noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, where we get to go through and do a deeper dive into the business aspect behind tattooing, whether it's marketing and advertising strategies or client retention and client communication. Maybe it's talking about travel visas and how to go to other countries and work in other countries. All of that and a whole lot more for the business aspect behind tattooing. Take a look at the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley on Wednesdays at noon. I would like to go through and take a second and thank some of our sponsors, some of the people that make these shows happen. Starting off with WorldTattooEvents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They're constantly keeping everything updated, as we know, living in a post-pandemic era. We do know that certain tattoo events and conventions are still getting rescheduled like crazy. So if you're looking for the most up-to-date tattoo event or convention information heading to a city or town near you, or maybe it's one you plan on visiting, it's typically how I book most of my vacations, take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Would also like to thank TattooNow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. Whether you're starting out or you're a veteran of 20 plus years in the industry, hitting up TattooNow.com and getting your client communication streamlined, getting maybe a new website put up, or even just going through and talking about different ways and different methods of client retention and advertising can really be beneficial. TattooNow.com has been a leader in just such fields for over 20 years. So take a look if you're really trying to elevate your studio and your personal and professional brand to a whole new level. Take a look at tattoonow.com. Would also like to thank Guy Aitchison at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. Take a look at guyaitchison.com to pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his tutorial DVDs. He's got countless fine art prints and the occasional oil painting, all for sale at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to thank Amy Nichols over at the Apprenticeship Diaries. If anyone comes to me and asks me about a tattoo apprenticeship or what an apprenticeship should be like, I always push them to the Apprenticeship Diaries podcast with Amy Nichols. It's an absolute wealth of information, and I cannot recommend it enough. Go take a look at that. As always, we ask that if you like today's show, go through, hit that like and subscribe button at the bottom of the page. This way you stay up to date with all future and upcoming shows hosted here live on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. Also, please leave a review on the channel. Help us get the word out. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, become a sponsor of our community, or if you are looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, or maybe you have interest in, maybe giving us some suggestions for future episodes or stuff you would like to see on the show, go through and shoot us an email at management@reinventingthetattoo.com. Would also like to go through and take a quick second to plug, where is it? There it is, tattoos.social, the #1 social media environment for tattoo artists of all levels. We have linked together with other channels such as Fireside Network, Paradise Tattoo Gathering, and a whole bunch of others. And we've created this community that's very positive, very welcoming. It's like your favorite social media platform without all of the bull that is usually included in those forums. So go take a look. Tattoos.social. You can scan the QR code right there. It's absolutely fantastic. I cannot say too many good things about it. It's absolutely incredible. And welcome to today's show. We might have one or two people joining us today. We will see. We've got Creatures Cave in the house. Awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Always happy to see you here. Yeah, I'm just going to be going through. I know that this time of year for a lot of tattooers can be considered a slow season. This is the post-holiday but pre-tax season kind of time where things tend to take a little bit of a dip in how busy things get. Being in this industry for as long as I have been, have patience. Tax season is right around the corner, and that is my favorite time of year. It's, there are certain places and certain people that if they could cash their tax return at the tattoo studio, man, I bet you money they would. But let's talk a little bit about what you can do to try to stay busy and try to stay positive and try to grow a little bit more, even if there aren't quite as many people coming through the door at this time. The first thing I recommend people do is to go through and sign up, maybe take some classes at Reinventing the Tattoo, sign up for the Inside the Fireside channel, go through and try to learn a little bit more knowledge than you had at this time last year. Anytime things get slower in the studio, it's the perfect time to really try to elevate yourself and elevate what you're currently capable of doing. So I always try to encourage people to do that. The second thing I always try to tell people is paint some flash designs, not digitally on your iPad. Go through, draw them by hand, paint them by hand, have a set of custom designs set up that you really want to tattoo that year. And I'm not saying that can't carry over into other years if no one gets it done. But what I'm saying is take that time and really start to focus on drawing some of the stuff that you really want to do, right? If you do that enough in all of the periods of time where you're not busy, you're going to amass such a huge collection of stuff that you really want to tattoo that you have drawn that is original artwork and original designs that you have created, and that will build on itself over time. Next thing you know, when people come in and say, hey, I want a tattoo, but I don't know what I want, it's like, cool, here's a book of custom designs I've drawn up. Take a look. Let me know if you see something that you really like, because this is all stuff that I would really love to tattoo. And people absolutely love that. Pick up a cork board. Start pinning all of your custom designs to a cork board in your area of the studio. Put a piece of masking tape at the top that says custom designs up for grabs. It's a great way to go through and advertise the type of stuff that you really want to do. And that in return will help drive more people to you to get that kind of stuff. But it's also going to help you stay busy and will be a great future investment. Simply because when people see those designs that you've already taken the time to draw out, well, that's less time you have to take to draw that design out. And you can sit down and say, great, let me get the line work together, sit down and tattoo it. It's going to help you become a little bit more efficient in the long run with stuff that you already know you really want to do. And you've already drawn it, so you already know the way that it's going to look. So just some food for thought there. Another thing on the list that I always try to encourage people to do is work on a new painting, or maybe it's an old painting that you've had to set aside for a little while. That's what I'm going to be working on today. Um, Go through and work on a painting. It doesn't have to be super huge. Maybe it can be, a little bit smaller, maybe 5 by 7, or 6 by 9, or 4 by 5. I try not to paint that small, but some people love it. So, hey, more power to you. Um, but go through, take your time, and create something original. I think most people will realize when they start working on original paintings a lot more frequently that there is a direct connection between the paintings that you create and the tattoos that you do. There's tons of artists out there that will all testify to the fact that the more painting and drawing that you do by hand, the more that is going to translate into the tattoos that you do. It's been done for a long, long time, and there is definitely evidence, historical evidence there to suggest that yes, there is a direct correlation there, regardless of what you like to paint with, whether it's liquid acrylic, whether it's colored pencils. Yes, I do consider using colored pencils to be a form of painting. Debate me on that. Bring it on. Because it is definitely a unique medium to work with. So it doesn't have to be oil painting. It doesn't have to be watercolors. It can be liquid acrylic. It can be acoustics. It can be, what do they call them? Wax-based pastels, which is basically colored pencil. Uh, so you can go through and just work in a medium, create some original artwork. Keep your hands busy, but stay productive. One of the final things I recommend to people, if you can afford it, travel and do a guest spot somewhere. You'd be surprised at what just going to a new environment can kind of spark inside of you and help open your eyes to. Now, especially during slow season, I know we don't usually have too much money to burn at this point in time of the year, but if you can find somewhere to do a guest spot that is within driving distance of where you live, maybe if it's an hour away or 2 hours away or whatever, but it's somewhere that you could drive there, you could do a guest spot for a day or two and then drive back. That's something I always recommend doing. It's really going to help give you a fresh perspective on things. Or one of the final things I recommend people do is get tattooed by your coworkers. Go through and pick their brains about how are they doing what they're doing. Why are they doing certain things like this? Why not do it like that? Why are you using this over that? You would be, once again, absolutely astonished at what just asking your fellow tattooers that you work with questions, how does that impact and how does that carry over into what you do on a daily basis in the studio? Maybe you can pick up a trick or two. Um, Sometimes, once every few years, I actually like to take this time of year and work on designing either a new convention banner or a new business card. Maybe it's a new website logo, who knows? But I always like to stay creative, especially once every few years. I like to keep things a little bit more fresh, and try to show off some of the new talents I've acquired over the last couple of years. So, you never really know. But I'm actually going to be working on a composition and a layout of a new painting I would like to start this year. Hopefully, within the next week or two, I'll get the chance to start it. So I'm going to switch over to here. I'm going to turn on picture in picture. So right now, everyone can kind of see what I have up here on the screen. It's just a little Japanese dragon that I sketched up a couple of weeks ago, and I'm kind of working on the composition for it. You can see the green box that I have kind of laid out. I know it's kind of difficult to see, but I do have a green box to indicate where I want the borders of my painting to be. And I've got some pink circles in there for where I'm going to throw more or less an Art Nouveau kind of background. And right now, I'm just kind of working on sketching out some of the other elements that I think I might want to throw in it. And I did create a brand new brush, if I can find it. There we go. This is a brush I created. I call this my dual Art Nouveau line brush. And I'm going to be using this. Hopefully it's big enough. Yeah, there we go. Um, and right now I do have my canvas mirrored. So I'm just going to kind of go through, and I'll turn the opacity down a little bit on this. And I'm just going to go through and start out kind of small, just to kind of see if this brush is really going to do what I'm thinking it's going to do or what I hope it's going to do. Maybe I want to take something from here. I mean, that's not too bad. Maybe I want to just bring this down, and then we can just do something like this. And then we could bring another guy down here. I mean, that might be kind of cool. Um, Now let's do something a little bit different. I do like the way this started out, though. Maybe we'll just bring this down. Nah, a little bit more of an angle. And then we could always bring... I don't like that bit. But this is typically anytime I'm going through and I'm working on a new painting, I want to make sure that it kind of, in a sense, resembles a tattoo design. Um, it doesn't always have to, but it is something that, I want to try to push. Now, the problem I have been running into a bit in the past couple of years is that a lot of people will see these kind of designs that I've been working on, and they're like, "Oh man, that's sick. Can I get that as a tattoo?" And it's like, yeah, why not? And then I can't use it as like a business card design or a new convention banner or anything of that nature because, I try to keep that completely separate and unique. Um, I try not to replicate my tattoo designs in anything else that I do, simply because I want that to stay unique as a personal branding item. And my personal brand and branding is something that I take kind of seriously. It's one of the reasons why every week you'll see me here and I'm wearing, kind of a collared shirt. Well, at least I try to every week because that's what I've partially created as part of my brand. Um, I want to be the consummate professional when it comes down to doing tattoos, and I want to appear as such. Um, it's just something that I do. Maybe not everyone does it. Maybe not everyone has to do it, and that's totally good for them. But it's something that I really try to emphasize in what I do. And everyone's got their own personal brand, and I respect that. They've got their own way that they like to look and their own image that they're trying to put forward. And, that's respectable because each one of us is different and unique. And thus, we should all be as unique as humanly possible. Maybe I want to could do something like this. That would be cool. bring this down a bit and maybe curve that over. Yeah, that'll be cool. And I may not even go with this design. As far as the new painting goes, I really would like to do the dragon, but this is also like the ninth different concept I've come up for the background of the dragon. I may actually end up just keeping the background pretty open, pretty negative. Maybe I'll do some like gray shading in it. Um, maybe I'll draw some waves. I already have some wave concepts kind of built up, um, that could look pretty cool. That's one set. This one. I've got one with just like one wave. That would be cool. I could always do like the wave coming out from behind it. Um, I've got, maybe just like a little sun disk that I could draw off of. Let's actually play around with that and we'll just see what happens with this. Maybe I'll come up with something that I like. Maybe we'll just draw something that kind of comes around. I've been trying to draw a lot more inspiration from artists such as Alphonse Mucha and a lot of other very Art Nouveau and Art Deco based artists. Um, Trying to really push myself a lot more towards the Art Nouveau over the Art Deco because Art Deco to me is a bit more linear. It's a bit more rigid in its composition and in its elements. You tend to see a lot more very straight lines, and it seems a lot more geometrically laid out to me. Whereas Art Nouveau, I tend to actually see a bit more almost like a flow or a curvature to a lot of the designs that I have been seeing. So, and that I really kind of like that rounded look. I just think it looks, really, really nice. Maybe we'll give this another little guy that comes off the side here in the background. And let me see if we have, nope, still just me in here. Uh, cool. Yeah, I forgot to close that. There we go. Much better. Now I'm struggling here because I do still have a very open space up here in the upper left. What I may end up doing is maybe flipping this around a little bit, and maybe I'll do something around here. A lot of times when I'm coming up with these images, a lot of it is just like sketching and playing. I'm not even really trying to achieve anything. Sometimes I'm like sketching around and doodling and just seeing what comes out. And sometimes you can get the best results that way by kind of playing around. So have fun with it. Um, I've always been a huge advocate of, if you're creating art and it's no longer fun, then stop doing it. Um, Being able to create art should be the most fun thing in the world. And if you are no longer having fun creating artwork, well, then there's probably a bigger issue there because it's the greatest feeling in the world and it's the most freeing feeling in the world because with artwork, there is no such thing as right or wrong. Um, Granted, there are, and this gets into a very, very long, elaborate, and in depth discussion. Uh, Even though art is an abstract concept, that we do, it is very much an abstract concept that we subscribe to. Uh, and there are plenty of people out there, myself included, that will go through and say that, art needs to meet certain criteria in order to be art. It doesn't always have to. Sometimes art can be as much as, heating up some solder and dripping some solder on a piece of wood and creating almost like a splashy metallic look. That looks pretty cool. And it's very randomized, and there's no necessarily a whole lot of skill involved in that or artistic craftsmanship involved in that. But it still looks amazing and can create the most magical art you've ever seen. Um, what I'm going to do now is kind of turn the opacity down on this, switch over to a darker color, break out one of my favorite pens. We'll just try this one. Mm, yeah, here we go. Now we're cooking. Just something nice and long and light to kind of go through and maybe refine some of this. A lot of this will be kept very light and in the background. So it's not like you'll even really see too much of it. But it's just nice as far as like a rough concept layout goes, just to kind of get an idea of, maybe I want to bring this down and over. I think that'll be cool. Maybe I can do another little guy over here. Even though that would hit a tangent because of where this finger is, right? So I can't really do that there because that's going to follow too much of a similar line. Maybe I can do another guy here. Maybe I'll just have like one or two little guys in the background, just kind of moving your eye around. I think that might look cool. Um, Worst case scenario, we come in here with our liquefy and we kind of smush this over a little bit more. Until we can kind of move it away from that tangent. Um, Granted, a lot of this is going to be pretty light and in the background anyway. So it's not like there's going to be too much, if that makes any sense. Maybe just enough to get the idea or the implication that there's something going on in the background. I don't like that. Just something to kind of move your eye around the page. Um, and that is something that I have always been absolutely adamant about, is getting the human eye to move completely around the piece. Because when you can move your eye in a direction and direct people to look exactly where you want them to, whatever it is you draw or paint or sketch or whatever, it's going to take on a whole new life, and it's going to really bring it up to a whole new level. You see this a lot with the great Italian Renaissance master artists. You'll actually see them directing you. If you know what to look for, you'll notice that they're directing you to look at a certain spot. And it's fascinating when you learn those tricks, exactly where they're trying to force you to look and then what else is there. It's such a great little trick of the human eye. Um, yeah, maybe something like this will look pretty cool. Probably erase some of this. Just something simple in the background because I want to give it an area of visual rest. Your eye, that is. Um, it's something that I picked up in a seminar from someone that was absolutely brilliant during this last year's Paradise Tattoo Gathering. And it completely and totally changed the way that I'm looking at everything. Patrick Paul O'Neill, thank you very much. Um, Absolutely fantastic seminar. I'm still going over my notes and thinking about it today. It was absolutely 100% enlightening, and I cannot thank you enough for sharing that with us. And then what this will do is this will kind of move your eye around the whole piece. It's the way that the human mind works. We want to see direction. We want to see where do things go, and our human eye will connect different shapes and different forms and different lines, whether we realize it or not. Our eye will automatically connect certain things to create the rest of the image. So being able to go through and kind of control that and utilize that little trick, can be really, really helpful. From here, I would create yet another layer. And then I would probably switch over to my favorite outliner. This is one that I created a little while back. And we'll make these lines a little bit bigger. There we go. And because this is going to be a painting, I'm not really super concerned with having all of these perfectly sketched correctly. This is basically just so that I can get a rough idea of the concept of the layout. I can always refine it later on. And I typically do whenever I'm creating a new painting. I like to go through and make some last minute adjustments or refinements to whatever it is I'm painting or drawing on the paper itself. Maybe that's going through and taking an eraser and erasing certain things or redrawing a line that I think needs to be redrawn. The whole nine. It's just something that I find myself doing quite frequently whenever I'm creating a painting. As I mentioned, I'm not even really super concerned with how accurate this stuff is. I am trying to get it semi-accurate, but I'm not super concerned if it's a bit off. Now, if I were to go through and do this as a digital work of art, I would be a lot more anal with how everything looks and how smooth these lines are, how everything is matching up, what my curves are. I would actually go through, take the time, and create individual perfect curves for every little piece of this. But as it stands, it's not always the easiest thing to do in Procreate. Um, I wish Procreate had an auto feature, like an auto shape feature or an auto line feature, where it could create an S curve. Oh, my cat's joining us today. Hello, Stella. Ah, Colin, very, very true. Colin just made a comment, and I'm going to show that. Yep, moving your eye around the piece is definitely something that I think every artist really, really needs to focus on. Hi, baby. Hello. Hi. Mwah. She's my little drawing buddy. She helps me figure out some of these tricky design composition elements and always provides me with a form of inspiration. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as foreground background interaction goes, especially when doing some of these more simplistic elements in here, creating this flow around the piece, I always like to have them overlap the foreground area in some aspect. She's just kind of making a perch, getting comfy. Uh, so I always like to bring it in front of certain things and then behind other things. For example, if I was going through and say this circle, which I really want to put some emphasis on, is going to come down, and we'll just erase this because this is going to be behind everything else. And then we'll be behind that because I really want to put a bit of emphasis on that. Might actually even go through and open up some of these channels just to kind of make it look like it's a little bit more a part of this design that I'm creating in the background. Good. Now what you'll notice is that with this design that I just created from the background, I've got it coming behind the horn and behind the hand, but in front of this arm here. Okay, this is going behind. Um, so it's kind of moving around in front. And the reason why is because I really want to bring this part here, okay, up and forward, and I want it to cross the body of the dragon down here. What that's going to do is move my eye in that direction, and I'll draw that again in red. Here we go. So this, having this cross the body line in this direction is going to immediately move your eye from here, crossing this and telling you that, hey, this body that this is crossing in front of isn't really that important. So that you can look there if you want, but it's not really that big of a deal. Same thing with this arm. By crossing this arm in the background, it's kind of telling you, hey, this is a little bit further back. Don't even worry about that. Don't pay attention to it. It's not really that big of a deal. But at the same time, it's putting more emphasis on this arm, and it's saying this is moving in front of that. So I'm creating three different levels of depth right here just in this one area, because I've got this arm here, which is one. I've got this negative space swoop, that's number two. This arm is three, and background is four. So I've got four levels of depth right here just in this one area. So that's going to give me an opportunity to really push and pull the depth that this piece can take on. Moving it up, moving it around, by having it come behind this horn here, it's really showing how much further in front this horn is than this negative space swoop. So it's going to give it the illusion that it's passing in front of certain parts, it's coming from the foreground, and it's going all the way back through into the background, back behind the rest of the dragon. So it's kind of pulling your eye from all the way forward to all the way back. And it's really kind of moving your eye around. I think it's going to be a really, really awesome way to go through and kind of incorporate something Art Nouveau into this kind of design, um, while still leaving a lot of emphasis on the dragon itself. I think it's really going to become really pretty awesome. I am going to switch back over to my favorite liner. And we'll go back to this one. Boop. There we go. And then what I will end up doing is on the dragon body layout that I've got created, I'm actually going to go through and erase this little part of the arm here and here, because once again, that's coming in front of that part of the arm. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the body here. And here. Now, what I would like to do is go through and create almost a hollow space inside this swoop, where I can kind of break this into a couple of different layers. And then I may actually do the same thing back here. Just break this into a couple of smaller pieces, just so that I've got a little bit more of that background showing through, and it kind of really pushes it backwards. One thing that you can do if you're in this kind of a situation and you're like, man, it kind of needs something a little bit more, but I'm not sure what to do. Worst case scenario, leave it alone and don't touch it. I've made that mistake. Don't do it. It's not a good idea. This is a pretty well balanced, pretty dynamic composition. I kind of like where it is. I think I'm just going to leave it alone. Um, if I do break that bottom part into two smaller pieces, though, what I am going to do is keep this separated a little bit more, so that that way you can kind of tell that it's going to match up down a little bit further, maybe down here. Or what I could do, I'm not sure where those two lines are. So these two lines, so what I may end up doing is, just to make sure everything stays nice and parallel, I'm going to take my circle tool, maybe a little bigger. This is going to help me ensure that these lines are parallel. Yeah, this hollow liner brush that I've created has really come in handy. And it was a little tricky to make, I'm not going to lie, but it's really paid itself off so far. Now, if I wanted to go through and create something a little bit more busy for the bottom portion, one thing I would recommend doing, just because it's me and that's what I like to do, I'll switch back over here to a studio pen. And what I can do is, too light. There we go. I could bring up another piece from the background and just kind of have it taper up, almost as like a little streak in the background. As long as it's following the same basic direction and curve, it's still going to be helpful, and it'll still serve the same purpose as the rest of the background design. I don't think I'm going to end up doing that, but it is there if I needed to. I could add another little curve back in here if I wanted to fill up some more space, and really make it a little bit more busy. I could even start one there and bring that around. I'm not going to, but I could. If I really, really wanted to get busy, I could bring something like this around and another little offshoot, or I could bring something else in here, just kind of curving around from behind. Maybe it's connecting back over in here. Who knows? Um, sometimes I'll draw these phantom lines even if I don't end up utilizing them, just because it's better to know exactly where it would go and then erase it later than it would be to actually go through and try to guess where a line would end up. Maybe I will keep that tiny little bit over here and just kind of use that as a directional guide as well. Haven't quite figured that out or decided on that yet. But by utilizing something like this that stretches all the way from the bottom to almost all the way to the top, it's really going to force your eye to move around the whole piece, but it's also going to go through and contrast that natural flow that I already have established with the dragon itself. So it's really going to be an added benefit, and it's really going to help me move the observer's eye completely around everything that I'm doing. No, that wouldn't be so big. Maybe. Yeah, just draw something like this. And then I could take this, bring this back down to here. Yeah, and then that would just kind of fill in that little nook over there. This area up here, I'm going to leave completely open. If I do anything here, it's just going to be a very subtle, tiny little curve, just to kind of fill the spot. I'm not going to be doing too much else to this. I'm just going to kind of leave it be. because I really want to make sure that I keep most of my emphasis on the dragon itself. And right now, I think that upper area is just a touch too busy. So I'm actually going to go through and re-angle this part. It just seemed to me like it was just, there's just too much going on up here in the upper left now. So I'll simplify that a little bit. Maybe I'll actually taper this in a bit more. And I will taper this in a bit more. Then I'll bring this around and smooth that out. All these tiny little bumps and extra lines and stuff like that, I'm not super concerned about that. That's all going to be stuff that I'm going to take away when I do my transfer onto paper to print it. Now that could use a little bit more of a sharp angle. So if I take this and just kind of bring this out. Once again, not super concerned with too much, just trying to get like the basic essence of the shape that I want in there. But as I was explaining before, if I was doing this as a digital painting and not an analog painting, I'd be a lot more concerned with how smooth the lines are, how crisp and sharp everything is, what kind of angles I'm creating. Um, but because I'm going to be adjusting some of that on the fly anyway, it doesn't really make sense for me to stress over. And then we can just take this. Yeah, something like that would be nice. It's not going to be too busy in the upper left. It's not going to be too busy anywhere else. It's going to give the eye enough space to kind of relax a bit in certain spots. Yeah, I think it'll make for a really nice painting. Really nice painting. So that's what I have for you guys today. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. Thank you for tuning in today to the Skill Building Monday drawing show here live on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. As always, keep your hands busy. Oh, she's so tired and so cute. Yeah. Go back to sleep, babe. Go back to sleep. Um, thank you very much for joining me today. Um, really appreciate everyone that watches this show. Can't thank you guys enough for allowing me to share what I know with you. So thank you. Stay tuned and catch me next week for episode 181 here live on the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. Thank you very much, as always, and keep your hands busy. Cheers.